city is taking centre stage in a new documentary.
Its intention is to kill sharks, to cull them.
The number of marine life that are dying, that's criminal.
A shocking new documentary is set to stir up debate about Queensland's shark control program.
It will cause controversy.
The shark control program.
Pressure is mounting on the state government.
100,000 signatures calling for the shark nets to be removed.
Envoy shark cull
features some of the biggest names in ocean conservation.
Envoy.
Envoy.
Hello everyone, Andre Burrell here, producer and director of Envoy Shark Cull, episode 10 of the SharkNet podcast, which is the second episode of season 2. Thank you for joining us, thank you for listening. Sorry for the delay since the first episode back, episode 1 of season 2. It's been, probably 8 weeks ago that we did that one now. That one's on me. I was overseas. I took my mic with me with every intention of doing one of these while I was overseas, and it didn't happen. So a lot's gone down since episode 1, which we're going to recap on. I'm going to hand over to my co-host Ali, who will lead the first part of the conversation here, and we're going to talk about what's gone down over the last 8 weeks. How are you, mate? What's happening? What's news?
A lot's been happening, man. I'm not doing too bad myself. Just been trying to assess or analyze all the vast degree of incompetence of this so-called shark protection, this protective mechanism that we're told is there to protect us from all these man-eating monsters in the sea, supposedly. As you mentioned, since the last time we've talked, there was 4 whale entanglements up in Queensland. Particularly, there was one in Noosa, which shout out to both Jeff Aquino and Aaron, who volunteered their time to really get the job done that is designated to the DPI, which is funded by our tax dollars. But yet once again demonstrating their degree of incompetence. Since then, there was only, I put emphasis on the word only, I mean one is way too many, but since then there was 4 whale entanglements. We've had a record 13.
So there was four last time we spoke, right? Is it what you mean? In that,
yes.
Yeah. So in this whale migration season, which runs approximately let's call it April to October-ish.
November, yeah.
Last time we had spoke, which was couple of months ago now, there had only been 4 to date, right?
Yeah.
The Noosa one being the main one. That rescue took all night. Jeff had located the whale. Aaron had helped through the night with our thermal imaging drone relocate the whale, etc., etc. So just clarifying. Last time we spoke, there had been 4 so far. What are we at now?
We had 4 whale entanglements. Today, if you were to include New South Wales, a record-breaking 14 together. If you don't include New South Wales, it'll be 13 all up in Queensland. And when I say record, I'm saying 12 within the space of 9 days. So literally there was a period in time briefly where you had every single day there was a whale entanglement. So it's just...
So 10 more since we last spoke. 10 more humpbacks entangled in shark nets.
Exactly. With the last
9 in Queensland, that one in New South Wales, which was, I believe, the last one.
13 in Queensland, one in New South Wales. The last one being the one in New South Wales, Coldale Beach, where the whale drowned and was on its underside, and it's just disgusting scenery, man. Honestly, like, what else do you need to see to demonstrate the degree of incompetence of this entire program when it comes to the lethal aspect of it? I mean, as a nation, we have the potential to literally, I'm not exaggerating when I say this, to be the world's leader when it comes to shark mitigation, non-lethal shark mitigation, and subsequently being a world leader in marine conservation, of course, and marine ecotourism, and as a result, boosting the economy, and as a result, bringing in more tourists. Like it's just a win-win.
And a leader in beach safety as well, I think.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
of course, yeah,
Like by modernising these programs, yes, we can do more to live up to our image on the tourism front and the ecotourism front and the environment front for sure. But we can also at the same time be a leader in beach safety if we just move with the times. Okay. The New South Wales one, the drowning, I'm shocked that didn't get more attention. Like it sort of got a few news articles about it, but I'm shocked it didn't get more. We literally, with taxpayer dollars, killed a humpback. That's insane. But anyway, that was the last one. We should probably go in order, right? Like, so after the Noosa one, which Jeff and Erin helped with and helped to resolve, run us through everything. What went down? And we'll do a little bit of some we'll just gloss over, some where where there's noteworthy stuff we might dive a bit deeper on. But take us through the list if you have it in front of you.
Sure. So 2 days after the Noosa one, we had one at Rainbow Beach, which again, the vast majority of these whale entanglements happen around the Sunshine Coast area, which, from what I understand, I'm not a whale scientist or anything, but they migrate up there north with their calves, or give birth rather, in Hervey Bay area, which is all around the Sunshine Coast region, and that's where they're supposed to have a safe haven. But we've created hell for them with all those nets, right? So
it's weirdly shifted. It's weirdly shifted a bit since I've been involved in the campaign. They were all at the Gold Coast like 5 years ago. Like you barely had an entanglement on the Sunshine Coast. Now they seem to be mostly on the Sunshine Coast. You barely see one on the Gold Coast. So that's interesting. But Rainbow is technically, I wouldn't call it Sunshine Coast. It's north of the Sunshine Coast, and it is quite right near Hervey Bay. You're quite right. And it is also, not that this is overly relevant to the whale conversation, but it's worth mentioning. It's also right next to, or maybe inside, or right next to the Great Sandy Marine Park, and it's also right next to the Wolf Rock Grey Nurse aggregation site, which is in the marine park. So the Rainbow one is particularly, it's a particularly disturbing one due to its proximity to Hervey Bay for whales, due to its proximity to Wolf Rock for catching and killing grey nurse as well. So anyway, so you're right. We have that Rainbow one, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to pull up the list too. Yes. So that first Rainbow one right after Noosa that you're mentioning is it actually broke the net and swam away with it. And it swam north, which is odd. And they ended up taking 2, 3, 4 days. I can't quite remember. Eventually cut it all loose back in Hervey Bay. So that one is not to be confused with the next Rainbow one, which we'll talk about, which is a few entanglements later, which actually got stuck in the net at Rainbow Beach, like most entanglements do. But this Rainbow one, it was a mum and a calf, broke the net, unusual, swam off with it, unusual, swam north, also unusual, and then took like multiple days to cut it free. So that's we don't have time. Well, this will be a 5-hour podcast if we go into how that shouldn't happen and how there should be disentanglement teams, rescue teams closer, because there isn't one near Rainbow. They have to come from the Sunshine Coast, which is a couple of hours. Let's just not go too deep on that. But safe to say, taking 3-4 days to disentangle an entangled humpback is not really acceptable.
I mean, to be honest, when you mention like the distance of like Sunshine Coast and Rainbow Beach and Gold Coast, in the grand scheme of things, I would actually consider them all relatively part of one area, being southern Queensland, and that's where all the whale entanglements happen, right? And that's where all the shark nets are, well, the vast majority of them. Correct me if I'm wrong, there's only 2 in northern Queensland in the Mackay region, 2 or 4.
Other than that, I think the Rainbow one is the most northerly one, I think, excluding those handful of, yes, you're right. And you're right, we talk about it as Sunshine Coast. Right? Yeah, we talk about it as Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast, Straddie, Moreton Bay, but really, it's all one relatively small stretch of coastline. Similar probably in scale to the whole New South Wales program, I would say. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. And then the day after, speaking of consecutive days, the day after you had one in Marcoola.
That's where my dad lives. That's where my dad lives. I know that beach super well. I go to that surf club all the time when I'm visiting my dad. He sent me the footage that then made its way around on news. You can't fly a drone there because it's right next to the airport. So he just sent me phone footage.
That was the one
in dad mode. You know what you know what dads are like when they film. But no, it was good. It was good. It did the job. You're right. That Marcoola one, and was that 2 or 1? I can never remember.
That was one from what I recall.
But I think there was more hanging around. People were saying there was more hanging around, distressed. Yeah,
and that was the one where you had first responders turn up, and not the first responders that you're thinking of to be like the DPI contractors. First responders were the police on jet skis, and again, not to rescue the whale, but to ensure that no Samaritan, good-hearted Samaritan, goes ahead and out of their own empathy and compassion for these big, beautiful animals to save this animal, but to ensure that they stay away and maintain that exclusion zone, only because last year someone did do that and they were threatened legal action, of course.
And for those that are interested, we did interview those folks that did do that in that rescue. They literally jumped in, did the government's job, rescued a humpback last year in Marcoola. For anyone that's interested, I'm just looking up which episode it is. We interviewed those 4 folks. I'm still in touch with a couple of them. Really good people. I'll come back to that and tell you which episode number it is. But if you scroll back, you'll find it. We interview them. So it's funny that because that happened there last year, they're now hyper aware that they don't want that to happen again because it's a bit of a hero story for people that do it. You know, they get a lot of kudos. It creates a lot of heat for the program. So they really just don't want Good Samaritans rescuing it. I don't for a second believe out of any interest in a Good Samaritan's safety. No, I know these people too well. I've worked with these bureaucrats for too long. I know their real intentions pretty damn well. They don't care about that. They just. This
is a great example of many that really portrays the notion of legality does not mean morality, right? Just because something's legal or illegal for that matter doesn't necessarily make it morally right or wrong. We have to look at it as per the case on its own. So, and then you had the DPI contractors turn up like much later, not as
much
soon
later,
as
and do the rescue.
Yeah.
You're right. Episode 3 it is, by the way. I looked up for people who are interested in that conversation. And don't get me wrong, it is risky. Like one slap of a pectoral fin or one slap of a tail fluke can be very, very, very bad if you're in the water, like deadly. If you're in the water trying to rescue one of these animals. They're very, very large, very powerful animals. I'm not trying to downplay the risk. I just don't believe for a second that the exclusion zone, that the reason they don't want people getting in there and helping these animals when they're in distress is safety. I call me cynical, but to me, it's all optics. Makes the rescuers look good, makes the program look terrible. They don't like that.
And then you had on the 25th of September, you had Mulalaba.
Lullaby, yep. Two. That was a mum and a calf. That was 2 whales. Yep.
And then after that, you had Rainbow Beach. That was the 2 that you were mentioning before, the second Rainbow Beach event.
Yes, that actually got stuck. We and a couple of other people documented more or less the whole thing. Like got the tip off very early, right around the same time that DPI were notified. Again, Erin raced up there. I believe she was on holidays, like as in she was camping or something with her family. She raced there. So I can't speak highly enough of Erin. Very, very, very dedicated. yeah. Anyway, raced there, had a drone in the sky basically the whole day. We got horrible footage of them entangled. We got footage of the actual release. Yeah. Not over 24. I think I reported around 6 a.m. They weren't released until the afternoon. So hours and hours and hours. But we saw the stressed other whales stressed hanging around, almost charging the rescue boat, like get away, like as in it looked to me like a sort of defensive behavior to be like protect these whales that were entangled. Eventually they did disentangle these whales. We got the moment of them swimming off. Like we got really, really powerful footage, which is so important. You know, we don't get this footage for the sake of getting footage. It's because it's what moves the needle. You know, no one connects with a story of a whale entanglement, or very few. You know, I'll rephrase that. The average person who doesn't know much about this topic doesn't connect with these stories unless there's strong, powerful, compelling imagery to go with it. In that same vein,
doesn't show anything. They don't talk about it. A lot of the times, the DPI's only been made aware because of the volunteers and the drone footage and everything. Otherwise, all this stuff will be downplayed.
Correct. And in that same vein, media won't cover it without good footage. Like we've seen that we have covered. I actually did this math not too long ago. We have now covered in some way, shape, or form about 50 whale entanglements, I think, since becoming involved, since starting to shoot the documentary, and then since the documentary continuing to advocate in this space, around 50. And the one clear thing I've learned out of those 50 is good footage equals good coverage equals moving the needle campaign-wise, as in more people understand what is happening, connect with what is happening, care about what is happening. No footage. So when you just hear an entanglement happened and then DPI say, hey, we released it. No footage means bugger all coverage, means, no real, at a campaign level, no real positive impact to make from that negative event of the entanglement, no real positive impact coming out of it because you're just not getting good reach either on social media or in mainstream media, and therefore you're not moving the needle. So this one, my point here is this one we got fantastic coverage thanks to Aaron, our drone pilot, and other drone pilots who were there on the day, and that really matters.
Yep, absolutely. And then following that, of course, we had the same day at Coolangatta, juvenile whale entangled in the Arvo, I believe.
Yeah.
And then that goes all the way to the 6th of October, all in Queensland, with the last one being in Noosa, knowingly.
Noosa again.
Yes.
Again.
The last one was that was recorded in Noosa, yes.
Noosa's probably worth mentioning. There's a real movement in Noosa now, organic. I don't think we've really contributed to it at all, personally, as an organisation. Noosa has a really organic, grassroots, community-led movement against these, and to be the first beach, or to be the beach, or whatever, to trial net removal during migration season, and there's just there's an independent MP there, so you don't have an MP. Sandy Bolton, which is, it really helps not being from either of the major parties. There's just a really strong movement there, which is really great to see. And these continued entanglements. This is the thing that I find funny. These continuing entanglements are kind of playing into the hands of movements like that in Noosa. Like you keep entangling, when you would have the option not to, by not having nets in during whale migration season, right? But you refuse to do that, so you continue entangling humpbacks. You continue pissing off the community. You continue pouring fuel on this movement. It just makes no political sense to me. Like the government have in front of them a report that says you can maintain target catch in Noosa by removing the nets and replacing them with 2 drumlines. You make your whole political problem go away. You take the wind out of the sails of this whole movement in Noosa, but you choose not to. Like, you choose to keep nets there, you choose to keep entangling humpbacks in Noosa, you choose to keep agitating the community there against you. Like, what's the play? What's the play? I don't get it.
That just demonstrates how much like incompetence there is, and the fact that they don't actually care about beach safety. Because just to add a caveat to what you're saying, for a lot of listeners that will be like, wait, what? We oppose lethal drumlines, obviously. Of course. Just to stillman their argument of saying, okay, all we want to do is catch target sharks, even by your own argument, hypothetically, let's say we get rid of the shark nets, and let's say you're saving all these people by putting a whole lot of drumlines, in this case, 2 drumlines per shark net gone, you're doing a better job. You're not, but let's just say you are. You're going to do a better job with those drumlines because you're catching astronomically more target species of sharks, but they still refuse to do that. That goes just to show how much it's not about beach safety for them. It's just a political statement at the end of the day.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And thanks for clarifying that. You're right. For listeners who might not be aware, essentially the whole premise of the program, the whole premise of the government's position to support the program is catching, killing target sharks good, makes beaches safer. That's the entire premise, right? So in Noosa, there is a report to say you can maintain target shark catch, which we don't agree. Like, we do not, there's no science to support catching, killing target sharks makes beaches safer. But for the sake of not having that argument, for the sake of having the argument, to steelman their argument to put you away, but like, okay, let's say we agree. We don't, but let's say we agree catching and killing target sharks is a good thing, right? You don't need to do it in Noosa. You don't need nets to do it, is what I meant to say. You don't need nets to do it. There's a report in front of you on your desk that says you can get rid of those nets. I can't remember whether it's there's 2 nets in Noosa, whether it's replace each net with 2, or I have a feeling it might have just been replace the 2 nets with 2 drumlines. Anyway, it's replace the 2 nets with either 2 or 4 drumlines. You'll maintain target catch. So that is the point there, is if you actually believe catching, killing target sharks is good, right? That must be maintained at all costs. You don't need nets to do it in Noosa. You just don't. So what are we doing here? Are we entangling humpbacks for fun? Are we doing it out of stubbornness? Like, what are we doing here? Anyway, okay, yeah. The point is, keep up the good work, Noosa. The movement that is growing there all on its own. Well, I mean, there's locals leading it, but it's really good to see. Keep it up. I think it'll move the needle. I do think it'll move the needle. At some point, a politician's stubbornness or stupidity or whatever you want to call it will bend. Will start to bend and break. So, So that's Queensland, and then I think the one we really need to talk about is New South Wales entanglement. Well,
before we jump onto Coaldale Beach, which was the main drowning incident that ended up with the whale dying, I want to briefly mention the fact that this isn't talked about enough, by the way. And the figure that I said, 14 whales entangled in both New South Wales and Queensland, is not including what the DPI has reported on their own annual performance review. And that is
New South Wales DPI. New South Wales
DPI. Word for word verbatim, they have mentioned at least 9 whale strikes. This is according to their own words. Now, what is a whale strike? Whale strike is just another word for whale entanglement. It's just another way of saying whale entanglement that resulted in the whale freeing itself. So they obviously haven't gone into detail with that, because the whale could have entangled itself. It could have suffered a fair bit, couple of hours, I don't know. It wasn't reported, and then it released itself. Or it could have just whipped it with its tail and then just moved off. And the reason for this being, from what I understand, is that New South Wales shark nets are deep set. They're not on the surface
they're bottom set.
Queensland one.
Queensland is top set on the surface. New South Wales is bottom set, or close to bottom set. They're more mid set. But yeah, they're lower to mid of the water column, where Queensland dangle from the surface. You're right. Yeah.
So as
And
a result,
both again for the for the listeners without deep knowledge on this, shark nets don't go top to bottom. They're about 6 meters tall. They're usually in waters 10 to 12 meters tall. So when we say top set, the Queensland ones hang from the surface 6 meters down, then it's completely bare to the sea floor. When we say bottom set for New South Wales, it's the opposite. So they're set near the sea floor. Then they cover about, half-ish of the water column. And then there's this big gap at the top to the surface. So, which humpbacks can swim. We can I really don't know. I really don't understand why more seem to self-release in New South Wales. It makes to me it would make sense that they
more on the surface and
to me it would make sense that they catch way less if they're bottom set, because humpbacks largely in shallow coastal waters like these will be chilling at the surface, right? So if your net's set at the bottom, you're going to catch less. But then they still had 9 whale strikes, so there's still 9. That was in the previous season, plus the one they've now drowned. They've still had 9 get themselves entangled and break the net and free themselves. So that's still a significant number.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they break and release themselves better. I don't know.
There is no post-release mortality data, which means we don't have any data on those whales gone. Because again, there's so much scientific evidence to suggest that when these animals suffer a fair bit of respiratory degree of suffering, it's going to affect them in the future, right? Be it reptiles like sea turtles or marine mammals like whales and dolphins and whatnot. It's going to affect them in the future. So we have no data on this, just in the same way we don't have any post-release mortality data on any other animal that's caught in shark nets, which haven't been tagged, obviously. From smart.
Some stuff is tagged, but a lot is not.
Specifically
most
Queensland
is not.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then of course we have the most significant incident. That was the Coledell Beach one. Like you said, Andre, yes, it's just so underrated. Like, it's not talked about enough at all. In my view, it was a major event that should have made global headlines. Like, Australia seen as this place where we respect our biodiversity and wildlife. Here we have on the bloody coast of Coledell Beach in the south coast of New South Wales, a huge whale, well, a juvenile size-ish.
About 2 years old, they think, right? After the necropsy or after they measured?
Relatively juvenile. Caught up on the beach side, dead, drowned on its underside. I don't know, that's pretty damn ridiculous.
You know what? No. I'm just having this thought now as we're talking, and it ties to my earlier point. You know why I think maybe this didn't get bigger traction? It comes down to footage again. Now, I know there's footage of once it was found dead, it's floating upside down, like you said, belly up, literally belly up, with a shark net wrapped around its tail. That footage exists. You know what would have made this global news? Is if
sharks were like feeding on it or something?
No, what I was going to say is if it was filmed, caught, distressed, and then died on camera, that's global news then.
That's true,
And I'm not having, I want to be very careful about how this comes across. The footage that was captured by local drone pilots, I don't believe they're affiliated with any organisations, it's just locals with drones, is great. It's powerful. It helped the story be what it is. They can't help that they happened to find it after it already died. So I'm not having a crack at anyone for getting a bad footage or not fucking being there earlier or whatever. That's not what I'm doing here. This is just me applying what I've learned over the last 5 years. And in a hypothetical world where someone had spotted it sooner, called in rescue, filmed the entire thing go down, the rescue failing and the animal dying, that's a very, very, very different news story versus, not to be too crude about this, but finding a humpback literally and metaphorically gone belly up with a shark net wrapped around its tail. So that's sad. That's kind of sad, right? Like, why should how good the footage of an event is dictate how much coverage it gets and how tragic it is? Like, that's no. It is what it is,
Absolutely.
though. It's the media
And-
landscape we live in.
And really, the paradox, as we always mention, the paradox of protection, is that we're told that these fishing devices are supposed to deter sharks. What that is doing is bringing in sharks. And literally, within a fortnight of the shark nets being reinstated in New South Wales in September, you had a target shark, which is supposedly one of the target species, tiger shark, one of the target species, have a massive chunk of it, like more than half of it, bitten off by I would suggest, a larger, more predatory shark.
I would suggest a
suggesting
white, without actually having
probably a
access
white.
to the animal and actually measuring it. But,
Yeah.
gut feel says that tiger was eaten by quite a large white.
Yeah, exactly. So if that's not suggesting that we are attracting sharks, predatory sharks, towards beachgoers, I don't know what does. In the same way that whale would have, the Coaldale Beach.
The comedy, no, it's not comedy. No, that's the dark comedy of this whole situation is they then had to close Coaldale Beach because a dead whale is a shark attractant.
Yeah.
Like, cool beach safety program.
Couldn't that deter those sharks?
Top notch.
Yeah.
So the big question, maybe I'm too early going on to this, stop me, but the big question a lot of people have that I talk to that aren't that well versed in this topic is, how is this even legal? Like, how are they doing this? How are they catching?
I'm just going to ask that. Yeah.
How are they catching, entangling humpbacks, which are a protected species under the EPBC Act? And prior to the EPBC Act, they were also protected under the Whale Protection Act. Since 1980, they've been protected, right? How is the government doing this? How are they entangling, and in the case of Coaldale, literally killing humpbacks? How is that allowed? That's what I get a lot, right? So, I mean, is there anything else you want to cover off before we go into that quickly? Because then that will probably stay on that and then wrap this up, I'd say.
Yeah,
Anything else?
that's all I had to say, man. I was actually going to move on to that as well. Like, really,
Okay.
the legality of all this nonsense, because that's what it is at the very least. So, yeah, go ahead.
So here's the legality of it, right? The EPBC Act, this is Australia's federal environment law. The Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act came out in 2000, right? There's reforms happening to it right now, which we'll talk about. That's a separate topic. Literally right now, like as we're recording this, there's shit going down in Canberra, literally right now. Anyway, the EPBC Act came out written in 1999, came into force in 2000. You cannot kill humpbacks according to that act, right? It's very illegal. You can't do any activities that would do that, as well as a whole bunch of other protected listed species, as well as harm a whole bunch of other protected environments, et cetera, et cetera. But we won't go too much into it. This isn't going to be an EPBC Act episode. Long story short, you cannot kill these animals under the EPBC Act. Can't. However, there's a loophole. And if you know this topic well, you're going to roll your eyes because you've heard me talk about this 100 times. Section 43B of the EPBC Act says if you were doing something lawfully at the time this act came out, 16th of July 2000, you can continue doing it without seeking any assessment or any approvals that you would normally require under this act. You can keep doing it forever. As long as you don't expand, enlarge, or intensify, you can keep doing that activity. Just purely, the only qualifying criteria is that you were doing it at 16th of July and it was lawful, as at 16th of July 2000.
Yep.
You can keep doing it forever. Literally forever. Indefinite.
As long as you don't expand or
enlarge.
Yeah.
Correct. So that is both programs, New South Wales and Queensland. When you ask them, hey, show me your permit. How are you allowed to kill all these protected species? Show me your permit. Their answer is, don't have one. Don't need one. We operate under Section 43B of the EPBC Act, which basically exempts us from complying with the EPBC Act because this program predates 16th of July 2000. That is how. So just to be crystal clear what this means. New South Wales shark nets, Queensland shark nets and drumlines do not have a permit and would not get a permit under Australia's federal environment law. It is fundamentally, under Australia's environment law, illegal to run these programs. Like, if you or I went and did it today, set a 150-meter net at Coaldale Beach and entangled and kill a humpback, we're in deep shit, right? It is legal for them because they've been doing it since pre-2000. Fundamentally, it is illegal under the Act. What they do is illegal. Full stop. However, there's an exemption from that.
Just to make it absolutely crystal clear, like if post 16th of July 2000, so if it was done on the 17th of July the year 2000, we put out a net at Coaldale Beach, killed a humpback whale, would be fined well over, what is it, $20,000 and imprisoned easily.
Because it's no longer in place. That's right. If equally, like, don't make it about me or you. If New South Wales government had started this program on 17th of July 2000 rather than back in 1937, now all of a sudden they have to comply with the EPBC Act. If they kill these animals or harm these ecosystems without approvals, which you wouldn't get. If you did this stuff without approvals, you're being fined and you're going to jail. So that is fundamentally what these programs are. Now, back to the reform thing. They're currently rewriting Australia's environment laws. So rewriting's a big call. They're currently tweaking Australia's environment laws in Canberra. We have for 5 years saying this Section 43B should not exist. It's ridiculous. You have an exemption that says just because something's old, you can do it forever, don't worry about it, you're sweet. Like, that's just dumb. So we've been saying for ages, Section 43B should not exist. It should be removed. It should be phased out. It should be whatever you want to call it. Section 43B has existed for 25 years now. It's given a hall pass to programs purely by virtue of being old for 25 years. Enough's enough. Like, remove it, get rid of the exemption. It's a dumb exemption. It was dumb when it was written. It's really dumb now because these programs, they're old. They've had 25 years now to get their house in order. They should be able to comply with modern environment law. After 25 years of having a hall pass, they should have, unless they don't have the competence to do this, they should have the ability to run these programs without infringing on the EPBC Act now. They should. If they don't, that's their problem. 25 years you've had. Get rid of the exemption. It has no place anymore in modern environment law. That's been our position for a long time. We've been pushing really hard for that. So have other organisations. So have many other organisations.
Once hypothetically, they get rid of the exemption, hopefully.
Yes.
What happens next?
That's a very good question. One of two things would need to happen, right? They would need to, when I say they, I mean Queensland and New South Wales governments. They would need to do one of two things. One is figure out a way to run their program that it doesn't harm EPBC Act protected species or ecosystems, right? If it doesn't harm them, you're not infringing on the EPBC Act. So if they can run a beach safety program with modern technology that doesn't harm, anything that's listed in the EPBC Act, they don't need an approval. They're not infringing on the EPBC Act. They don't need to submit for assessment and get an approval. They just run the program. Like, it's fine. It's fine. That's path number one. Path number two, if they want to keep running the program in the current way they run it, which is killing a bunch of protected species every year, some by design, some as bycatch, well, then you would need to submit the program for assessment under the EPBC Act. It would need to be assessed, and then a permit would either be granted or declined or conditions applied, right? That's the two things they would need to do if 43B, the two choices they would have if 43B would not exist. I feel they would never get a permit. They would submit, as to my understanding of the laws and my understanding of the significant impact that these programs have, it simply wouldn't get a permit. So that means
So to corner them to
in order to get a permit,
right.
they would need to improve the programs and bring them up into line with modern environmental expectations.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want this ep to be 5 hours long, so I won't go into all the ways they could do that. For example, and I'll leave it at this, using drones, which are more effective at spotting sharks than nets or drumlines are at catching them. Using
Can I
drones
just
more.
Replace the word use with amplify? Because we already have a ton of them in use. Just extending the use of it. It's already in use. It's already deemed as competent, both in New South Wales, Queensland. So many trials done.
Proven more effective at spotting sharks than nets of drumlines are at catching them.
It's not even a matter of
the text there.
Yeah.
So by removing 43B, basically what you'd be doing is you'd be popping the ball in the state's courts and be like, all right, apply to keep doing what you're doing and we'll assess it and we'll either approve or reject you, or sort your shit out, get your house in order, run a program that doesn't breach the EPBC Act, and then you can do what you want.
Yep.
It's simple. And I don't think either of those options are unreasonable. To either expect these programs to be assessed just like every other program, take away their hall pass just because they're old, that's not unreasonable. In no way can you paint that as unreasonable. Or number two, that they just sort their programs out and stop breaching the EPBC Act by stopping killing a bunch of protected species. That's not unreasonable either. That's the same that everyone else needs to comply with. So that is what would happen if 43B. Now, literally today, I think we're going to know if that has happened or not. So Labor have introduced all their changes that they wanted to do a few weeks ago. I think the previous sitting week, it was pretty garbage. Let's be honest. Then to pass the bill, they needed votes in the Senate. They needed votes in the Senate either from the coalition, so LNP, or they needed votes in the Senate from Greens to pass what they wanted to pass. Obviously, coalition LNP wanted to strip everything right back and make the environment laws weaker. Greens were saying the opposite. Greens are like, you want our votes, you need to make this stronger, this stronger, this stronger, remove this exemption, etc., etc. Greens wanted it stronger in order to support it in the Senate and pass it. Coalition wanted it weaker in order to support it in the Senate. Just today, I've literally got news open while we're recording this. Just today, they seem to have agreed a deal with the Greens. Some exemptions
with the deal, or like just leaning closer, because
no, I think it's done. Like there's been a press conference. There's been a press conference where, there's a deal in principle. Obviously, it's not a done deal until it actually these amendments that they've agreed in order to pass it get written and it goes to the Senate floor and there's actually a vote on it. Until it formally passes, it's not a done deal, but it's being reported as a deal. Like they have a deal in principle. So Greens obviously asked for way more, strengthen it. Sounds like Labor have agreed to some of it or quite a bit of it. I don't know. This is literally a very fluid situation. And it sounds like that's a deal. It will now get written and it will pass in the Senate, which will make it law. What I'm unclear on is it sounds like they have, from what I'm seeing right now, I can't reiterate how fluid this has been all week, and especially today, like right now as we're recording this. It sounds like Labor have agreed to remove some exemptions from the EPBC Act that will put an end to certain things that use either the same exemption or other exemptions, such as logging, like logging native forests. I don't know, and I haven't got an answer yet. So we'll have to let this episode will be a bit of a cliffhanger. You'll have to go and read up on what actually transpired after we ended this recording. I don't know yet whether 43B is going to be removed as part of these concessions that Labor have made. If so, that is a huge win for this campaign. Yeah. I fear not. I fear they've removed these logging exemptions and stuff in a different way, not by deleting or phasing out 43B, but we'll see. We'll see. If 43B, I'm not holding my breath on it, but if 43B is gone, that's massive, based on the 10-minute conversation about it we just had. If it's not, stay tuned, because we have some other thoughts on 43B and how maybe, how very, very, very likely the state shouldn't be using it anyway. I won't go into that now. But look, we might talk about it next time. I think what we'll talk about next time is we'll either be celebrating removal of 43B, I doubt it, which means these programs need to sort their shit out, not to put too fine a point on it, or I'll explain more about why we think they're actually illegally using 43B. They shouldn't actually be using 43B.
Yeah, it's like it's a breach of it anyway. So.
Yeah, so that's a conversation for next time. But yeah, sounds like a deal's been agreed. It obviously still needs to go through the formalities of being written and formally passing the Senate. And then, yeah, as more info comes out, I'll be watching it closely, because if 43B's gone, that's huge. But I fear it's not, but we'll see.
I think that's a good tone to leave it as. Time to find out what happens with it exactly. And subsequently, we'll talk about that from then on. Yeah.
Cool. Sounds like a plan. Good chat.
Yeah.
Hope everyone enjoyed listening. I won't leave it another 2 months rather before the next one. I do apologise. I was overseas. I didn't have connectivity for most of it. I was hiking in Nepal or hanging off the side of a mountain in Nepal. So as much as I'd intended to do a podcast from there, didn't happen.
Sickness
My
kicked in.
bad. We'll chat soon. See you, everyone.
See you guys. You.
My first time swimming with a tiger shark was on the Gold Coast, and she was literally taking her last breaths in front of us.
For 83 years and counting, we've been running the world's longest marine cull.
It is just off our coastline, but it's so hidden from the public.
You're afraid naturally of something that you don't know. They're actually the real victims and the ones that have something to fear.
Its intention is to kill sharks, to cull them.
It is absolutely archaic that we're relying on a program that was devised in 1930.
I hope to think every Australian can think like this.
It's not a solution by any means. They're just killing sharks.
People are unaware that this device is a fishing device.
We're killing in the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park.
I think once people realize what's happening, how senseless the killing actually is, I think they should be outraged about what is happening to Australia's beautiful natural resources.
We're the government and we are keeping you safe from this big scary thing.
They have no education in, no background in, and don't know what they're doing.
It is in effect a gag order, and it's near impossible to get any footage underwater.
Observations and concerns about the safety of the operation and potential jeopardy that you put.
What if our ignorance is about to wipe them out?
There's a good chance this documentary may actually start its own feeding frenzy.